I love junk radios. I guess this one is somewhere between junk and worthwhile. It's an S40A, at least that's what it says on the front. I haven't opened it up yet. I've got another S40A that I started to working on and got frustrated and quit. Oh, brother, it was a mess. I mean, you should have seen the underneath of this thing. Terrible, great big globs of solder. Part of it seemed to be wired as a plain S40, early S40. Part of it seemed to be wired like an S40A. Looked like about a dozen modifications made to it. The only way I'd ever get that one playing, I think, is just take everything out of it and rewire it totally to either the S40 or the S40A schematic, one or the other. It actually had most of the knobs except for the tuning and the band spread. This one doesn't have any of the right knobs on it. But actually the cabinet and all is in better shape, so I'll use that other one as a parts radio. This one may be good enough that I'm just going to polish it up, touch up some of these places around these here where they fingernails scratched. It's some rusty places, a few little rusty spots here and there. But I think I'm just going to touch up the rusty places and clean it up, polish it up, and go with it if I can get it playing. So I'm going to open it up and see what we got. Well, this one looks much better than the last one. I can see a few things, like this, of course, is a replacement. This resistor here is a replacement. This big old dog bone here has been hot. Of course, electrolytic's got to go anyway. The main can electrolytic. But it's much cleaner. I don't see many bad solder joints like I did in the other one. Doesn't look like it's had a lot of modifications. There is one RCA jack on the back here, but it doesn't look like it's hooked to anything. There's no wires running to it, so I'm not sure what that was for. But yeah, in much better shape. Let me turn it over here and see what it looks like. It's dirty, but nothing like the last one. And the only tube it's missing is the 80 rectifier. Alright, it does have the regular speaker in it. The other one, somebody had taken out this jack here for a VFO, and this one's got all that original. This antenna connector was broken on the other one, so this looks good. All in all, it's in much better shape. All the tubes are in it except for the 80. Looks like the all the dials tuning dials are working. Okay. I think we got a better candidate here on this one. I'll use the other one for parts if I need them. Well, the 80 rectifier is out of the set, so I've got it plugged up here, and I'm gonna check, see if this power transformer is okay. So on one side we've got 314, and the other side 334. Alright, so let me check low voltage here. I'll check at 6 volts because the other side of that goes to ground. Let's see. Alright, so 6.9. That's a 6 volt winding. Alright, the 5 volt going to the filament of the 80. Let me hold on a second, let me hook up something. Okay, 5.76, so okay. Power transformer looks like it's good. Alright, I'm going to start recapping here. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of this thing because it's in the way. And it looks like what they did, terrible sin, they've got this thing hooked to the 30 microfarad section of this can electrolytic up here. Getting a little screwdriver here. I've got it connected to the 30 microfarad right here to ground, so it looks like they were paralleling maybe a bad section in that metal can with this one. So we're going to get that out of the way. And it's oozing, so it's no good anyway. Well, I finally got this S40A playing. Here's all the caps. I think I replaced every cap in it. Resistors, very few, and what amazing, looked like the very high resistance were okay. I mean, within tolerance. Some of the lower ones were not, but didn't have to replace that many resistors, but all the caps, and one of those big, I think that was a 10 watt resistor, and the main electrolytic, can electrolytic, I left in there and just disconnected and used a terminal strip, mounted some external electrolytics. This thing was, I had a hard time figuring it out. In fact, I've got two of them, and both of them seem to be wired about halfway of S40 and then S40A. The circuit, I had to use both schematics to figure it out. And I ended up pretty much just wiring this one totally to the S40 schematic, and it's playing.
And he wouldn't mention the names, but D'Angelo Russell, and it struggles defensively. We need some more defense on the ball.
So now that it's playing, I guess I'll go to the trouble to refinish the outside of it, repaint this thing, put new decals on it. I've got two of the main tuning dials. I don't think they are exactly the same. In fact, this is a Japan knockoff that I've had for years, I think, but it's pretty much an exact duplicate of this genuine Hallicrafters. And then I've got the rest of the knobs on this other S40 over here that I started on and got frustrated with it because it had mixed circuitry, part S40A and part S40. And I got frustrated and just set it aside. So I'll take the knobs off of that. Except for the tuning knobs. This one's got crazy tuning knobs somebody put on it, but between the two radios I ought to have a good set of knobs. I'll go back to this one in one day and get back on it, and in the meantime try to buy some knobs off of eBay or something. I'll have more money in the knobs than I've got in anything if I ever get a set. So that's where I am with this, and I'll continue on and start the refinishing process. Well, I was about ready to put this thing back in the case like it is. I have used all the rust removers, everything on this chassis, and it did get rid of all the rust. I actually started steel wooling it, but some of this stuff is just stained so bad and so deep that it's never going to come off. But I looked at it and I said, I can't stand that, so I'm going to paint it. I have taped it all up, and I'm going to paint it cast iron or something, make it look better. Ah, that looks so much better. Looks so much better. Don't look original, but looks better. I love junk radios, and this one definitely qualifies. I bought this one at a local flea market, not a radio flea market, just an ordinary flea market, for $5. It's an S40A, and I'll try to find some good points about it if I can. The main tuning dial works real smooth. So does the fine tuning dial here, the band spread. It's got most of the original knobs except for the main tuning knobs up here. Gotta grease this chair. I don't know what this mess is. Crazy knob, and this looks like a piece of leather behind it. I don't know why that was put on there, to maybe keep it from scraping. This knob, I have no idea what that came off of. Lots of scratches here on the band switch, and some of the numbers are worn off. This one I'm pretty sure I'll repaint and put new decals on it. Speaker grill is a mess, all rusty. This switch here, AVC switch, the handle is actually bent. Now it's all the way over to the left, but you can see it's still pointed right. So if you look down on it, it's bent. They put a whole lot of force on that to bend that, and I'm sure if I tried to bend it back, it would break. So I don't know if I can find one like it. It's a typical Hallicrafters switch. Got a long handle. I may have an old radio down there with one on it. Somebody's mounted an RCA jack on top of it. I have no idea what that's for. Looking inside, the chassis is all rusty, crusty, and it's missing 6 of the tubes. It does have 3 up here in the, I think this is all RF up here. Looks like one of these IF transformers has been replaced at some point. And look, that one looks original. This one doesn't look original. So this one's going to be fun. Let me see if I can see. Oh, there are no wires hooked to the bottom of that RCA jack, so it was something that was added at some point and then dismantled. If I fix this, I'll probably fill that. I hate to see extra jacks put on these radios. I hate to see modifications of any kind. I like them original. I have one Hallicrafters knob, tuning knob, but it's got that little chrome ring around it. Is that the Hallicraft? No, this is the Hallicrafters. But it has that little shiny chrome ring on it, and I don't think the S40A had that. There's some on eBay, but they want $20 a piece for them. Woo! I paid $5 for the radio. The band spread glass is all messed up. It's warped, and that'll have to be replaced. But the main tuning one is nice and smooth, and like I said, that's a very smooth movement on that. Alright, I'm going to take it out of the chassis, see what the bottom looks like. Looking at the back side, somebody's already cut the power cord off. Good thing. It is all crumbly. Somebody's drilled a hole in the data plate here, and looks like it was another RCA jack, but the jack's been taken off. And here we go again with an odd old Cinch Jones type connector. It does have some pencil writing on the reason it was put in there, but I can't read what it says. This jack here, I guess that's the original location. I guess this is the, well, this may be the screw type antenna connection. I don't know. I'll have to look to see if this originally had an SO239 on it or just a screw terminals for antenna. Not sure. Alright, so once again I'm going to get it out of the cabinet here and see what it looks like. So I've got, I reprinted this off of the Bama website. This is a, actually, what do you call it? Not routers, but one of the older schematic services. Pictures are not real good, but I can tell that this did not have an SO239 socket on it originally. Only had the screw terminals, and it had 2 of these round connectors. This one I think is the one, according to the schematic, that was made to plug an external S meter in. And I've seen on the web instructions for building an S meter for one of these S40s. This one goes to the power section, and it's supposed to have 2 jumpers on it. And let's see, maybe it does. I'm in the dark here. I think these might be two jumpers. So that is the power section, and you could use those jumpers to control it from like an external transmit receive relay, and I think steel power for things like an external S meter or VFO or whatever. Interesting little plate right here in this corner. Maybe that's original, I don't know. It's a nice square little plate, and it's held down with 2 screws. And as I showed in an earlier video, it's filthy. The tuning capacitor on this thing is just all crudted up, dust and dirt. This may be one that I try out that theory of just putting them in a dishwasher and letting the dishwasher clean them. I see on the web people doing that. I never had guts enough to try it, but this one would be a good candidate. And again, this hole here looks like it was made for an RCA jack. And as I said before, this RCA jack on the top, there's no wires connected to it, so it hasn't been functional. Alright, so let me turn it over here and look at the bottom. Most of the time the bottom on these things is relatively clean because they don't collect the dust and dirt like the top does. But this one is about as dirty as the top. I see 1, 2, 3 caps that have been replaced. That's probably one right there, that ceramic case one. But then there's a whole lot of these originals that are still in there. It's definitely had visitors in the past, and it's kind of a mess. See a lot of solder joints that don't look original. So this one's going to be fun. One of the first things I'm going to do here is check the windings on the transformer. The rectifier tube is one that's missing, so I may hook me up a temporary paracord to this thing and turn it on and make sure that all of the power transformer windings are producing as they should. Need to check all of these RF coils, make sure lightning hadn't gotten into them. And these look like those little tuning coils like in the SX28. Those things, those cores, boy, they bind up, and the little slot in them breaks, and I had to make some for my SX28. Because they were just crumbled into pieces, and the slots were all boogered up on them. You couldn't get them to turn. Alright, so let me hook up a temporary paracord on this thing, check the voltages. So I went in here and clipped off the power cord, getting ready to replace that, and I noticed that this is a capacitor here, and it's cracked open. It's the line filter. It's on the primary side of the transformer. This filters the AC line, goes to ground. So I'm not sure that something could have happened that caused it to bust open like that. I think I'm gonna need to clip it out because it might be shorted. So I'm gonna clip it out and continue on to put me a paracord on this thing. I clipped that capacitor out, and it's definitely a capacitor. Schematic says it's an 01 at 600. Doesn't look like it's been hot or anything. I don't know. Maybe just been in there so long that the plastic or Bakelite had deteriorated and it just cracked. Okay. So I tacked me a cord on here and I plugged it in, and no fire when I plugged it in, and then I turned the switch on and still no fire. So looks like the primary is in good shape. Hopefully here's where the line comes in. I got 120 volts. It goes through the switch, comes back here, and got 120. So 120 is across the primary. Now, let's check the rectifier tube. Two of the pins should have, 6 volts on it. Okay, so that's 3 volts. Yeah, so that's the secondary of the transformer. It's got 690 on it. Looks like the secondary is good. Yeah, 3 volt. 3 volts on the primary. I think that's right. So it looks like those 2 windings are okay. And then there's another winding. I gotta figure out where I check that one at. Okay, it goes over here to this plug for one thing. Looks like it, yeah, that's probably the 6 volt winding. Looks like it runs the pilot lights and runs the filaments of the other tubes. So I should have 6 volts across. Don't tell me what the pin numbers are, but I can see that one of them goes here, and 4 on that one. Nothing on that one. Oop. 4 volts. Let me back this up to the 20 volt scale and see what I get. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the 6 volt winding. So 6 volt is good. So it looks like all the windings on the power transformer are good. That's good news. All right, so power transformer is good. We can continue on here and try to. Looks like all of the paper caps are going to have to be replaced. I'm not even going to check for anything else. I'm going to check these RF coils and check the IF coils. See what I can figure out about those. So I'm checking this. If you can see this or not, here's the antenna coils. And if you hook, attach a lead right to the antenna, they all go as a band switch goes. They are switched in, and the other end goes to ground. So that's the way I've got it set up here. So in the lowest band, basically the broadcast band, I'm checking about 25 ohms. When I switch to band 2, goes to 3.7, so the frequency is getting higher and therefore the inductance would be lower. Looks like an awful large difference between the broadcast band of 20 some ohms and this, but there's a lot of winding on that broadcast band. Band 3, about ½ ohm. Band 4, bouncing between 3 and 4. So they look like they're okay. As the frequency increases, the inductance is going down each step. So I think the antenna coils are okay. So now let me check the I'm going to cut this off until I can figure out where I need to attach to. So I wanted to check all of these mixer coils here, and I should be able to connect to pin 8 of the 6SG7. It's got a 2700 ohm resistor that goes over to the rotor on the switch, and that resistor looks like it's been burnt. That I can't read it, but I think that's it, 27. So I'm going to get on the other side of that. Now it comes down and goes to the junction of 240 mics in the power supply. One of them is a 10K, and I forget what the other value is, but this, it's a 15K, a 1500 and a 10K connected pin, so I think this is the right terminal on the electrolytic. But this 1500 ohm resistor wasn't even tacked hardly to that. It just, I touched it and it came loose, so that was a terrible solder joint. Also, there's a resistor right here that looks like it's blowed up. So some major problems here. I think was or is a short somewhere that's destroyed some stuff. Right now I've just got to figure out which one is the right terminal for the other end of these mixer coils to where they come to, so I can check that mixer coil chain and see if it's intact. Well, I had a confusing thing here to happen. So I put my ohm meter right here, just past that resistor hooked to the plate. It comes down, goes through this band selector switch, and switches these coils in and out. And then I clipped right here at the bottom of those coils. And I was doing pretty good. Band 1, and then band 2 was open. Band 3 was okay. Band 4. But I could measure that coil on what I thought was band 2, the second one down, and the coil was okay. The other thing I noticed that when I start up at the top, the resistance was low. As I come on down to these other coils, the resistance got higher. So I'm thinking that seems to be reversed, because that coil up at the top should be band 1, should have the most windings on it, therefore a higher resistance. So after pondering over the schematic, I read down here Gotta find it. Anyway, it's on here. Here it is right here. Band switch B1 is shown in position for band 4. So, I don't know, most of the time these things, the top one is band 1, and come on down to band 4, they've got it reversed. And they're showing the schematic is attached to band 4, so it's down here. It starts at this coil and comes up, and if you look, that second position up doesn't have a primary. They're playing some little game there that it loops around through a resistor. I'm not sure how that works. Maybe somebody can comment and tell me how that works, but so anyway, band 2, you wouldn't measure resistance, or you would, but it's a very large resistance. Looks like a 6800 ohm resistor in there. So now that I've got that figured out, that string looks okay. So now I need to check the secondaries. So I'll hook up here and check these secondaries and make sure they're okay. And I'll continue on checking all of these coils. I've got here's the oscillator coils down here. I won't video all of that unless I find an open somewhere. I was getting along pretty good with recapping until I got to this 6SQ7 socket here, and nothing was wired right. I mean, nothing matched my schematic. Now this says it's a S40A, says that on the front panel, but I had to go on Balma. You've got several different schematics, and one of the schematics that's on there is for the early S40, before the S40A, and this 6SQ7 is wired to the original S40 schematic. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe they had some chassis that they had manufactured to the S40 schematic, and then when they switched, they just put them in S40A cabinets. I don't know, but anyway, once I got the right schematic here, everything's working out right. So we'll continue on. Well, I'm pulling up my hair on this one. I don't know what I got here. I've got 3 schematics. Here's a Sam's Photo Fact on an S40A. Over here is a reprint of the S40A book, and I've got that schematic. And then here I've got the plain S40 schematic, and none of them agree. I mean, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if this was in between design changes, or whoever owned this, I think, was very modification pro. Has holes drilled and wires running. Maybe what I'm seeing here is a lot of modifications, but nothing's agreeing. I'm trying to recap it, and I'll get along pretty good and get to the next tube, and all of a sudden it's wired totally different from the schematic, and it doesn't seem to agree with any other schematics, so it's a mess. Just for instance, this is supposed to be a plain S40, but it has a output transformer, not the the old one where they use the coil as a part of the filter circuit. It's shown here on this S40 schematic. But this has got an output transformer that agrees with S40A. So it's a mess. Alright, so I'm going to keep on here. I'm trying to figure this out. It looks like I'm going to probably end up with a hybrid between S40 and S40A. And after I get all the caps replaced and rewired, if it don't play, I'll go tracing it and find out why. I forgot to mention one other thing here. This down here should be a 6F6 audio output, but somebody has written beside the socket 6V6. Now they are same pinout, both audio amplifiers. Maybe it was a popular conversion back in the day to change it to a 6V6. Maybe there was a performance advantage. I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with why this is not wired the same, but that's just part of what I'm running into here. Well, first time for everything.
Alright, can I be sued for something?
See how this works. Can't hurt it. Well, it's out of the dishwasher. And I'll tell you, that definitely cleaned it up. These are rusty spots here. Put some Loctite rust dissolver on them. Some over here. But it cleaned them up awful pretty. See what the back looks like. Yeah, all the difference in the world. Now, will it ever play? I don't know. I think it will. I see guys on YouTube taking a wash tub, filling it full of soapy water and dunking these things in them, and so it ought to be fine. It'll be a long time before I finish recapping it and get it ready, so it's gonna dry out a lot. I put it in the oven for about an hour at 140 degrees and with convection on, so and it'll dry out even more as I work on it. So looking good. I'd give up on this radio. As I explained, I think in the previous part of this video, it seems to be a mixture of original S40 and S40A wiring, and so I had started here in the audio section and got frustrated because there were so many differences between an S40A schematic, which this is supposed to be. That's what's on the front panel. Then after I did the other S40, I said, I'm going to come back and give this thing another try. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to start at the RF end and work back this way. And I had started wiring this to an S40A schematic, and as I said, there were a lot of changes, but I'll probably finish it up and whatever I need to change to make it match an S40A schematic, that's what I'm going to do. Well, I finally figured out the circuit on this thing. Got it all recapped. And I actually did put this one in the dishwasher. And It cleaned it up a whole lot better. The top of the chassis is still pretty rough, but the dirt and the grease is off of it. I'm not sure I'm going to go to the trouble of painting this chassis. This radio was sort of irredeemable, but I got it cleaned up here, and let's see if we can get anything out of it here. Volume control needs cleaning. That's broadcast band. Let's see if we can get anything on band 2. I do hear some carriers, so it must be working. So let's see. That's wide open on band 3. Got a dead area down here on this end. Might have some plates touching on the tuning capacitor. LDFO doesn't seem to be working, but I had this trouble on the other one I did, and it was because the thing was so far out of alignment. You really weren't getting 455 kilocycles through the IF. It was coming through something else, and therefore the beat frequency oscillator didn't beat with it. But band 3 is working. Getting nothing on band 4. Actually, I am. I can hear just a little tiny carrier way back in there. So it is working on band 4. And maybe after a good alignment, that'll perk that up. So S40A, with about half of it wired as an S40, and this must have been right around the changeover period. It's got a 80 rectifier in it rather than a 5Y3. I didn't have an XG7, 6SG7 for the RF end, so it's got a 6H7 in it. Maybe deteriorating a little bit, but it's alive, so I'll go to work on it now to try to get it fired up good. Well, I broke down and painted the chassis. It just looked so terrible I couldn't stand it. So I taped it up and sprayed a little aluminum paint on it. It don't look original, but it looks cleaner. Well, I finally got this radio, I won't say finished, but it's all I'm going to do. I think this is the worst one I have ever worked on. It started out as a pile of junk, and first radio I ever put in a dishwasher. And that did clean it up reasonably well. And I started to just abandon it, but I don't like to abandon any radio, so I went to work on it. And as some of the previous videos on it, I don't know what it looked like. It's half. It would come from the factory half wired as an S40 and another half wired as an S40A. And so eventually I just ended up changing all the wiring to S40A. And I'm not real proud of this restoration because I just kind of got tired of fooling with it, and a lot of the components on the bottom are just tacked in place, and the cabinet got some problems with paint in a couple areas. One thing is I painted this thing in satin black, and I used that Krylon, shoot, I can't think of the name of it now, but it's a kind of a new paint they've come out with. And I sprayed a coat on it, and I put decals on the front of it, and I came back, and I always like to spray a coat of satin clear. That kind of hides the decals. It makes it harder to see that it was a decal. And when I sprayed that clear on it, it wrinkled all the paint up. I stopped using Rust-Oleum a long time ago because of that. They tell you on the can, if you're going to put another coat on it, you need to do it within like an hour or two, or wait 24 hours. Well, this radio had been painted probably 2 or 3 days. And when I sprayed that satin clear on it, it attacked the base coat. So pretty much had to start all over, and still it was a couple of places where paint wrinkled, I guess, where I didn't get the original off good enough. So anyway, it's been a problem radio from the beginning. It operates fairly well. It still has some problems, but I am tired of fooling with it. And it looks decent, and it plays decent, and so it's going up on the shelf, probably never to be touched again, with all of my other radios that I've restored. So let's see, we've got, I think right now, I've got it set on 40 meters. Let's see if I hear anything. So anyway, it's about 3:30 here on the East Coast, and it's picking up 40 meters very well. Let me see if it's anything on the upper band here, band 4. Band 4 pretty dead this time of the morning, here at WWV. So let's try another band. Broadcast band pretty good for this time of day. I'm picking up stations that normally would have to wait till nighttime to pick up. So, like I say, Radio leaves a lot to be desired, but I'm tired of fooling with this one. Maybe later on I'll come back to it and perfect it.